You're listening to Living with Lewy. Well, hello, folks, and welcome to this week's edition of Living with Lewy. And in today's edition, I'd like to discuss a problem that's kind of reared itself in my life, and that's dealing with frustration, aggravation, agitation, all those different things like different feelings that we can experience. And for me, in my day to day, it seems like the frustration starts with little things that maybe I used to be able to do, like maybe get the lid off of my water bottle or to open up a Ziploc bag, or just things that required a little bit more fine motor skills in my dexterity that have kind of gone away. And so simple things tend to get me frustrated. They get me keyed up. And I personally am home most of the time myself. I don't have a live-in or uh, care partner. My wife is my care partner, and she works all day, and so she's not home during the day. And so I try to take care of a lot of the smaller tasks here, like making sure the laundry's done, make sure the kitchen's kind of cleaned up, and try to cut back on the things that she needs to do when she gets home, because after all, she now is working and I'm home all the time. So the more that I can take off of her plate, the better. However, these same simple tasks often require fine motor movements that I just don't have anymore, and it really gets my frustration level up. And when my frustration level gets up, my stress level goes up, and then it becomes like a vicious circle that I'm in that that I just don't find real comfortable. Um, it doesn't it doesn't help that you have this decrease in the fine motor, but you also or my dexterity. I also find that my cognitive cloudiness or fog, as I've called it in the past, also can create a lot of frustration for me. I think that one thing that one of my therapists has told me is that kind of likens the likens this to losing a loved one and grieving, and that it's this grief process or grief cycle, if you will, that that frustrates me. And it's because I've lost so many things that I used to be able to do without even really thinking about it. Now I have to spend a great deal of time thinking about, and a lot of times I'll have several things going and nothing's getting accomplished. And so that also will lead to some frustration. And as this frustration kind of tends to build and go on during the day, and you get more and more aggravated, and I think that you're in my case, as I get aggravated, I get more agitated. And bless my wife's heart, she gets home from work after being at work all day, and here she comes home to a husband whose frustration and agitation is through the roof, and oftentimes without even realizing it or thinking about it, I guess I tend to unload and vent to her. And if she's had a frustrating day, that's not easy for her. And I also know that trying to work with me and trying to support me, oftentimes I see, the look of frustration on her face. And so the frustration is not just mine, it also belongs um, to my wife and my loved ones, because I'm sure they get frustrated with trying to deal with everything from day to day, just as I do. Granted, we are the ones that actually have the actual diagnosis of Lewy body, but Lewy body, believe me, affects everyone in your family, and it's unavoidable. One of the things that I brought up this subject with a sport group that I belong with, and there were a couple of things that were suggested, some of which I may agree with, some of them I may not. But one was to kind of ask permission. Okay, is it okay if I tell you what's been happening today and what's been frustrating for me, um, and ask the permission before you just kind of open up the back of the dump truck and let it all out. That may work. It's something that I certainly think that maybe I need to try. Um, and one of the other things that someone said that I kind of liked was maybe when you're feeling frustrated, um, try writing down what it is that's frustrating you in that moment. And maybe after you've written it down and you look at it, that perhaps you'll find that maybe it's not as big of a deal as what you think it is. For me, I I don't know that when I get caught up in the middle of being frustrated and agitated that I can remember to always write something down. But I guess if I don't try it, it'll never work, right? So maybe we can try doing that. And it's um, it's just a hard thing to manage, and for me anyway, is this frustration and agitation that just builds. Um, and I, for instance, when cognitively I'm trying to think about how to do something, and then my body doesn't want to respond. Um, that's just it's a piece that hard for me to swallow. I can tell you that most of my life I took whatever was broken and fixed it. My cars, my motorcycles, you name it. Things around the house I've always taken care of, and it frustrates me when I can't just go and clean out my gutters, because getting up on a ladder is way too dangerous. I fell off of a ladder at about a height of about 8 feet, and the fall didn't bother me at all. It was that sudden stop at the end when I hit the concrete that really hurt. And so I had to realize that me being on a ladder is it's unsafe. And so not being able to take care of the simple tasks around the house really bothers me. And as I see those things mounting on the list of things that should be taken care of, and it becomes a level of stress and frustration for me. I'm blessed that I have some children that are willing to come over and pitch in and help out, but you don't always like to be a burden to everyone else. And I think one of the things that has been said to me is maybe you should learn how to accept help. When somebody offers you help, take it. Don't say, well, I'm sorry, I don't want to inconvenience you or anything like that. You should receive the help that's being offered, because if they weren't willing to have you receive their help, they would not have offered in the first place. And that's an area that I've had to work on, is being willing to accept outside help. I really honestly was was thinking that perhaps I would get a little bit more feedback on how people deal with this frustration, agitation piece that goes along with having Lewy body. Um, I I guess it's an area that not people are real comfortable talking about, are their own levels of frustration and stress, and their own venting. It's but it's real. It's here, and I know that it's difficult for me. It's difficult for my wife, and difficult for those around me when I get to that level of frustration that I become agitated, and then it turns into aggravation, and then I tend to dump it off, and I I don't always know that I'm doing that, and so it's kind of hard to get a handle on when oftentimes you're not aware yourself that that's what's happening. I find that when my wife is with me and we're spending the day together, and things kind of go pretty much the way they do most days, it doesn't have a tendency to build up as much, because I get frustrated. She sees it. She tries to help me. She tries to comfort me if she can. If it's something that she can help with, she's going to. And so I think that on days, on the weekends when she's off and she's with me all day, it makes it less prevalent, or at least I would say the the truck doesn't get a chance to get the filled up to the point that it has to be dumped in one big load, um, like what tends to happen, I think, on weekdays when, yeah, I've got my animals here, and I love my animals to death, but they're not very good listeners when it comes to dealing with frustration. Um, but I think that there's a lot to be said for the time that we have, that we spend together, and she can recognize something that's frustrating me and help me through that situation, rather than me struggling through on a weekday when there's no one here, and that frustration, just an aggravation, all just starts to boil up. And then when she gets home, there comes the dump truck, and blam, bam, there it is. And I love my wife very much, and I don't. I don't want to say I don't think. I'm going to say I know that she doesn't deserve this. She didn't sign up for this. But one thing she'll always tell me is, "You didn't sign up for this either." And no, I did not. But that does not. When I get to a place where I have taken out some frustrations and unloaded on her, and I know that it hurts her, and it hurts me, and I don't know that I don't want to hurt my wife, but I know that it's happening, and I don't always know what to do about it. I know that it's something that I need to work on constantly. Is to try to figure out ways to better manage my frustration, because the frustration is what I know leads to the being agitated and aggravated, and then the venting will happen, and it's just like this big vicious circle around all of the things that this lovely friend of ours, Lewy body, has taken away, and I don't. I I don't always do an effective job of managing this circle of frustration, and I'm sure that I'm nowhere near the only one that goes through this. I'm pretty sure that most everyone else that is out there that is suffering from Lewy body goes through the same thing, and I certainly would welcome any feedback on how people how you deal with your frustrations, and how do you deal with the mounting aggravation and agitation to prevent the proverbial dump truck, if you will. I know that I plan to explore some of these strategies that were shared with me, and certainly, if any of you have one, I am. We are on Facebook with Living with Lewy Facebook, and by all means, I would encourage you to share that with me. I would love to hear it. So um, that's pretty much what I have to discuss today over frustration, aggravation, and agitation. And I know that all of us deal with it, and it's a matter of how. And I can only say that I wish that I could do a better job, so that I wasn't. Uh, I don't know. And what I think is, what this is me speaking. I feel as though that when I get like this, I am more of a burden on my spouse than what I want to be, and so um, I know that that this is just something that I wrestle with, and will probably not get any easier. It will probably get more difficult, and so at any rate, that's what we have to talk about. And if anybody has a suggestion, please share.
Please remember, folks, that we are 100% voluntarily funded by our listeners. So please go to the link and at the bottom of your favorite podcast provider, and you'll find a link there that says support the show, or you can find us on GoFundMe under Living with Lewy podcast, and every dollar counts, and every dollar helps. So please take a minute and go in and support the show. We certainly would appreciate it. The only thing we try to do is cover our operating costs and equipment maintenance costs. So we thank you and have a great day. We'd like to thank you for joining us for this edition of Living with Lewy.